I've been seeing on my YouTube feed some videos that popped up that are like mistakes you're making for your first riding lessons, or mistakes to keep you from making for your first riding lessons, and so forth. Just kind of videos giving you a heads up what you should expect going into your first riding lesson. And I thought like, oh, that would be a cool video, because I do teach riding lessons every single day. And I was like, oh, that'd be a cool video. Mistakes that I see very common, especially in your beginning stages of getting into riding lessons. However, I kind of wanted to shift that a little bit and make a video on what you should expect going into riding lessons, what you should look for in finding a riding lesson instructor, and what you should be doing to help further your education instead of doing so much mistakes you're going to make, because everyone's going to make mistakes going into their first riding lessons. You're new to it, and you just have to make the mistakes to learn from them. So if you find the right instructor that's going to help you get through those, that's what really matters the most, not the fact that you're going to make mistakes, because everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes. Your riding instructors are going to make mistakes too. It's just part of it. And with horses, there's always something you can improve on. So I kind of wanted to change the pace a little bit and talk to you all about finding the correct riding instructor and what you should be doing to further that to make yourself better. The most obvious thing when looking for a riding instructor is looking them up, obviously. I like to stalk people when it comes to where I'm about to go. Before I go to a clinic, I want to know everything about them, how their training methods are. And you're not going to figure out everything, obviously, and you can learn something from every single person. But when it comes to finding a riding instructor, if you're wanting to take lessons with them weekly or twice a week, 3 times, every day, whatever it is, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. Now, that being said, depending on how you're paying your riding instructor, whether it be you pay them weekly or per lesson, or some people do monthly. And if you're going to do the monthly, you want to know what you're getting into before you just start throwing out your money, because you want to make sure you're getting what you pay for, if that makes sense. Obviously, you can check them out on Facebook, check out their website, look at their reviews, find videos, especially if they have sound, and you can kind of like, how are they talking to the students? How are they explaining things? Are they making it very clear? Is it hard to understand? You want to find somebody that makes things very clear to understand, but also fun. You don't want it to be something you dread going to do. You want to we ride horses because it's fun, so let's not take the fun away from it, but at the same time, you need to be continuing to learn and grow. Look at them and their riding specifically, because you can tell how they ride. Do you want to ride like them, or when you watch them ride, you're like, what the heck are they doing? Now, to a certain extent, if you're new and you don't know what to look for, then don't go looking at the riding, because they might be teaching a young horse or riding a young horse in that specific video, and you're like, that don't look too good, but it could be the horse, it could be their first ride. So only if you kind of know and you're looking at getting in more advanced stuff, then you can start getting a little bit nitpicky. And then also, like, especially if you know somebody that goes to them, maybe ask to join and watch them do a lesson. See what their teaching style is, see what they're doing. Are they just riding on the rail? Are they doing patterns? Are they learning drills? Are they learning safety stuff? All of that stuff is definitely something you want to keep in the back of your mind to be looking for. Thing that I don't think is talked about enough is look at their horses. Okay, now I've been at some barns, and I regret that. I've taken some lessons from some people at different barns and go back to look at their horses, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for that horse, and the fact that I even rode it at this point, because their horses were not well taken care of. These flies are like really bad. We just got finished rain, and it's like, but you see horses that are super skinny that shouldn't have been worked. Some horses that are so old, blind, can't see, crippled, limping. If your trainer is giving your horse medicine so you can ride it, leave. Okay, that's not right. And you shouldn't be like, oh, give him some BU so I can ride him for the next hour and hop on him, kick him. Like, would you want to go run a marathon after throwing up 4 times with the stomach virus? No, so don't do that to your horse. Add on to that, I want to say, look at the facility. Now, the facility is something you shouldn't be super picky about. You want it to be a safe environment, okay? You want to go somewhere and be like, okay, I know my child is going to be in good hands and safe, and there's not nails poking out on the rail as they ride along, if that makes sense. I feel like the most obvious thing that everyone jumps to is how much is a riding lesson? How much is it to ride for an hour? How much is 30 minutes private? Is it group? Is it private lessons? You know, and everyone is all about money, 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 because that's all everybody really cares about is how much stuff is. Now, I totally get this because I came from the side of I might not be able to ride every single week for riding lessons. I might have to ride every 2 weeks. A lot of times I would just get to go to the barn, and cleaning stalls meant the world to me because I couldn't afford to go always and take a lesson every single week, because it does add up. If you're going weekly or twice or 3 times a week, I mean, it adds up, okay? Now, that being said, as an instructor now, you've also got to put into play that we are letting you ride in our tack on our horses. You are wearing our animals and our tack down. My saddle gets rode in 7 to 8 times a week, okay? Versus it could just be me riding, and my saddle would last me a whole lot longer. I've got kids throwing my stuff down on the ground now, bridles getting twisted, thrown around. You know, like, tack is very expensive. So just put that into your mind whenever you start to think, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. You're using our tack. You're putting wear and tear on our horses and our animals. Especially if they're getting rode a lot, they're going to need more chiro, massages, all of this stuff. Vet bills are expensive, everything. You know, does your horse need injections? Whatever it is, everything is expensive here with our animals. And just think, like, if you go get your nails done, how much is it to go get your nails done? Because I know it's expensive. And a lot of these riding lessons are cheaper than going and get your nails done, and we're letting you ride an animal that is our entire lives for cheaper than going and get your nails done. Now, that's not always the case. Some lessons can be quite expensive, but just look into what's the facility like, what are our bills. Like, I know one person is not expected to pay your bills, but you are putting wear and tear on all of our equipment and our horses, and all of that is expensive for us. And a lot of times we're really not taking home as much money as you are giving us, because that money is having to go back towards the feed, the hay, the water, all of the products. We're having to buy new tack regularly because it's getting used so much for these animals. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Find what's affordable for you, but also do it in a safe way that you know you're going to be taken care of. But just keep in the back of your mind that it's not cheap for us either. Depending on your goals, like whether you're looking at getting your kid into lessons at maybe 4, 5, 6 years old, and you just want them to have a hobby, something to do for fun, I would say really look at safety. Safety is number one, especially you got to know you're getting on a living animal that has a mind of their own, so things can go south very quickly. That was not the right word. Very quickly. You have to know that, but you also have to know that we are training, and at some point things do happen, okay? When you get into horses, and I feel like this isn't addressed enough, especially to parents who are getting their kids into it, or you're trying to get into it, you've got to know when you want to start riding and getting into lessons or getting your kid into lessons, these animals are trained, and we do our best every day to keep you or your child in the safest possible condition in every single scenario and teach them what to do. However, they are still animals with a mind of their own, and things can go south. Putting my phone up here because my arm's getting tired, but I try to let my students know, like, hey, like, you're getting on a horse. If things go wrong, this is what we're going to do. Now, a lot of times it really freaks the kids out, so you've got to find your happy balance of, like, letting them know things can happen, but also keeping it fun and safe. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you can train and prepare all you want. At some point, if you're riding these horses consistently, you're going to fall off. And you've got to know that and be okay with that from the start, or you're going to be riding with fear. And riding with fear is going to end up in getting you more hurt, okay? If that makes sense. So just know, if you're wanting to get into these lessons for your kid, or you specifically, you've got to know this coming into it. I mean, it's just like riding a motorcycle. You know, if you get your kid riding lessons from riding a motorcycle because you want them to race, at some point they're going to fall. Quite often, actually. And you've got to know that, and you've got to know there's going to be hurt. They're going to leave crying sometimes. They're going to fall off. It's just part of it, and it's just a matter of how bad do you want it, while also keeping things fun and safe. So you got to know there's a balance to that, and you want your instructor to push you and get you out of your comfort zone while also keeping you safe. You're really surprised at how many people take lessons week by week, and we're telling them the same thing over and over and over again, but it's simply just because they're not actually applying that and doing that, and we can't move on to the next level until they do, whether we're trying different things, different teaching methods, or simply just because the person doesn't want to do it, if that makes sense. They've got to be willing to put in the work, because if you aren't putting in the work, your horse is going to pick up on that extremely fast and not going to want to do the work either. Horses, you can get a push button horse, but at the end of the day, if you don't give them that cue that they need, they're not going to do it. And horses pick up things really fast. So if they're like, oh, she doesn't want to do this, I don't either. I'm not going to do this. So you've got to be able to enforce that. And no, you're going to have to do some work too, and it's not an easy sport. There's going to be hard times, there's going to be bad days, because horses have bad days just like we do. Be willing to put in the work, put in the time, to watch videos, study your videos. If you're getting videos, go home and study them. Listen to what your trainer says, because I will say it is hard, especially if you're trying to think of a lot at once while riding. You may not realize you're doing something, so if you get a chance to look back at a video, that is really, really good. To go in, zoom in, what's your feet doing, how are your hands, how's your seat? If your seat's not good, maybe look up a video of somebody else you know that has a really good seat. Watch how they're moving, watch how they do it, look at the leads, what your horse is doing with their legs, how are their ears, whatever it is. Like, you can study so much and learn just from watching other videos. So if this is something you're really passionate about and want to do, study, read books, watch videos, take notes, go places and take literal notes throughout your riding, and it will literally improve your performance so much. It'll skyrocket. So that's my biggest tip to all of y'all, because y'all can learn so much just from watching other people. So yeah, those are my biggest tips for y'all as in looking for riding lessons. Now maybe if you want me to, I can do like a most common mistakes, biggest mistakes I see beginners doing riding lessons. I can make a video on that. So if you're trying to prepare for your first lesson and you don't want to make as many mistakes to help your lesson get further along, then yeah, I'll definitely make that video. If you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see y'all on Friday.